This is my Get Clarity session. So, to give you guys a little bit of context, there are times whenever you're working on a project, at least that's the situation that I'm in, that you work and 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 work and work and work and work. And when you look up, all you feel is exhausted because you've kind of lost touch with the feedback loops. You've lost touch with where you're going, what you're doing. You get the idea. And over the last 4 weeks, I had a lot of things pushing me in very different directions, from a commitment side, from a required side, from a life just happens side. To give you guys examples, like things that I didn't expect to happen this year happened. This is going to sound so stupid. But a documentary that I was working on for 3 years that I actually expected to premiere next year. Like, I wasn't working on it alone. I was working on it with a couple of people. I'm just the narrator of the documentary, and I did some of the interviews in the documentary itself. But I was expecting for it to premiere next year, and no, it wasn't communicated that way. It was just because I had already been waiting for it 3 years. I didn't expect it to come out this year. Turned out it came out this year. Then that pulled away my attention to get myself ready for the premiere. First, there was discussion about, will I be a moderator on a panel? Will I be on the panel myself? Then I realized I'd forgotten, my passport was expired. So I needed to figure out how to do that quickly because the premiere would be the month after at the time when I heard about it first. Then I realized, oh no, my visa for the country that I'm currently living in is running out. And then other life things happened, from a medical situation, where I got to this point, and you might be able to relate to this. I got to this point where I just felt like existing was exhausting. And I still sort of feel like that right now, especially because every day my attention was somewhere else and not on the things that I actually wanted to do, and my expectations weren't met towards myself. I felt myself going deeper and deeper and deeper inside of a little hole until eventually this week, Monday, I kind of hit this exhaustion point where I was just like, okay, screw everything. And I've hit this low before, but I'm super happy to know that I'm currently sitting in the office chair on the bounce back road. And I wanted to make this video series just in case you're in a similar situation where you've set a lot of goals, you've set up a lot of tasks, you have an overwhelming stack of to-do lists, and you just don't know where to start anymore. You can't even identify what's important because you feel so wired. Because everything can feel urgent, but not everything is important. So the things that I'm not going to talk about today are the Eisenhower method. I'm not going to talk about the Pomodoro techniques. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm going to talk about something that over the past year has been helping me really stay clear on what are the things that are important to me, especially when, like in my circumstance right now, I've done a lot of projects in the past, but I'm trying to focus down onto one. And that's what I'm going to take you guys through this series, how I'm doing that, what I'm improving from the process in comparison to the past. And by the end of it, my hope to you, because I don't want to guarantee anything, is that if you follow along with me, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can get back on the horse and I can take action in under 24 hours. That's always my goal, because I feel like the most important thing is not, how much can you get done, or how long are you down. The most important thing is how fast can you get up, get clear on what's important, and remind yourself that you're going to be okay, that you got yourself, and that you're going to just take action on the things that matter. Because at the end of the day, I keep having to remind myself, it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter what life situation you're in right now. The only thing that's going to help us change that, or help me change that, this is what I tell myself, is taking action on the things that I would say I was going to take action on, and doing it consistently. And with consistently, just to define it for everyone, I don't mean every day the same amount. I mean every day bringing to the table a little bit more than you think you can, and then adjusting day after day to get better over time. So my goal with this session that I do for myself is to help myself take a step back from the overwhelm and then start building up momentum step by step with more intention. Because the reason why I got here in the first place is because I thought I was doing things with intention, but I kept saying yes to things that I should actually be saying no to. Now, we're going to fix that. So, the first step of the process that I usually do is something I call a brain dump. Okay, so one of the first things that I do when I'm finally at the point of, accepting that I feel overwhelmed, accepting that I feel afraid of making the wrong choice, accepting that I don't actually want to do anything right now except for lay in my bed under the covers, maybe watch some Apple TV, Netflix, whatever, is I just sit down in front of my computer and I write on whatever is top of mind. I usually try to give it a focus, like the thing that I've been overthinking or the thought that's been bothering me. And in this case, I kept having this thought, it should be easier right now. The reason why I was thinking that is because I've worked on several projects over the last 6 years, the documentary being one of them, but I never found myself doing things with ease. I've always felt myself feeling anxious while I take action and scared, feeling pressured, afraid of failure. And I always thought that something was wrong with me. And I believe that the reason why was because I thought it was going to get easier with time. Now, what that didn't take into account, and what I learned through my own writing, this dumping of thoughts, is that I thought it was going to get easier because I had this idea in my mind that I was training myself to be a good entrepreneur. Now, what I didn't take into account while I was thinking these things and while I was setting this expectation for myself is that over the last couple of years, I have jumped a lot of projects. So I used to have this moment, to give you guys an idea, I worked on a project for 2 years that didn't lead to anything. Then I put my hopes into the next project that, again, kind of popped. And the reason why it popped, why I'm saying it popped, is not that it wasn't a good project. It just didn't meet my expectations of what I wanted it to be and how I hoped this project would help me elevate my life. And so I would get to these points where it would feel like rock bottom. And then I would just tell myself, okay, you know what? This is my fault. I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. And I would get to a point of what I now call a listlessness, which just means that I'd lay in bed and I'd do nothing. Even though everything felt impossible to do, I realized that the things that I would do would be scroll through social media. I would play video games and I would eat shitty fast food. My belief is that because I was consuming so much social media on how my life should be as a successful entrepreneur and as a quote unquote successful person, I was continuously comparing myself to things that don't make sense in my current context. Now, what it made me blind to was the thing that I mentioned first, that I was going through a lot of projects. And through this belief that I wasn't successful, I ignored all of the lessons that each of those projects has taught me. And I also ignored the fact, this is my assumption, that the reason why it's never felt easy was because the thing that was moving was the environment was changing and my goalpost was changing. So on a lot of different levels, I was outside of my comfort zone. And instead of understanding that I was outside of my comfort zone, I was expecting it to get easier. I always told myself, well, having done this project means that this project should be easier because I won't make the same mistakes twice. But my belief not allowing me to understand what the actual mistakes were, because again, I thought it needed to be easy. And I thought that I had failed in those previous projects, so they had nothing to teach me. The reason why this brain dump is important is because it helps me understand what am I currently thinking, and it helps me step back and say, that's actually a pretty stupid thought because I have a lot of those. And the way that I do that is I first I brain dump, and then I go back And I tried to answer the question, but is that true? From a different perspective, what else is there? What is the underlying thing here? Now, once I'm done with that, I then go in and I quote unquote come up with a plan. Now, here's where I've made the mistakes is I would use my past experiences of discomfort and fear as a decision maker of what I was not going to do in the future. And that's not very helpful because you get to the point where you start avoiding certain activities that are essential for every project that you start, but you start believing that you cannot do them because you previously failed at them. And again, I'm talking about myself. I write to myself, the goal here is to get clarity. Pick one method on how we're going and get going. In this project of building Action Equals Today, I was introduced to the world of building an online community again, and then I was newly introduced into the world of advertising and into the world of content and the workshops, freebies, all kinds of different offers. And I just wanted to do them all because I wanted to find as quickly as possible the one thing that works. And my definition as works at the moment before I wrote this was I need to get people inside of the community as quickly as possible so that I can get out of my other responsibilities and 100% focus on this. As you can imagine, that created a ton of pressure that I was expecting myself to be able to compete with and get in the time, right? So I started in October. I set myself the goal. I said, okay, by June, I'm going to have this community thing figured out, and I'm going to, start having a big community of 150 members. Like I'm going to set the goal for the year, but by June, I want to have like 80 already or 90 or be almost reaching the goal. And what that led to is it led to me rushing through all of the learning modules, for example, of advertising, all of the ideas that I had for the community itself, and telling myself, okay, if people haven't joined yet, it's just not good enough. I have to keep making it better, but not really understanding what better means. What then came on top of that is that I started saying, okay, well, if I'm going to do this advertising thing, I need to, save costs so that I have a budget to do the advertising, which I did and I'm still doing. On top of that, I want to get more clients in my consulting work so that I can invest more budget into building the community. Because, again, I thought the more I advertise, the quicker this will come, right? The faster I can pull the future into the present. But when that didn't work because I still don't know what good looks like when it comes to advertising a community online, I started doubting myself again, and I started looking for opportunities to make more money. So I finally closed another client. And then on top of that, the thing with the movie premiere came out. Then on top of that, there were some health issues. Then on top of that, there was the thing with the visa and the country that I'm living. And so as my attention got more and more pulled away from the things that I would say I would do for the community, the things that I have as a goal this year, the more frustrated I became internally. And so coming back to this was thinking through the reason why, and this is all this is. I was thinking through my thought process as to why I was so stressed about this, right? And what I came up with, and this is like saying this out loud feels so weird, is I had told myself I'd set this rule that I say, okay, did I do what I set out to do? If I did, then the answer is yes, great. The day is a good day. That's the definition of a good day. Then if the answer was no, I asked myself, and then I asked myself, why does this activity matter? My head said this jokingly. It was like, I did what is required to not pay a fine, and immediately went there. I was like, oh no, I'm behind on getting my visa, and they're going to make me pay a fine. And so that immediately, put the pressure on even more, but it wasn't even a reality. And that leads me to the next thing. So understanding what were the thoughts that led to the actions that I took instead of the things that I set out to do. Step 2. Step 3 is saying, okay, now that I understand that, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, okay, what is my intention? What is my focus? Let's refocus, let's realign. And I guess the easiest way to sum it up, and it's just because I have a cluster of ideas in my head about what treating your body and treating your mind well looks like for me. And I always like to symbolize it by exercise, because I feel like people that exercise and have good exercising and resting cycles, they quote unquote have it figured out. Could be another limiting belief, but we don't know, right? And so I said, okay, based off of my understanding of exercise and my understanding of resting, I'm going to do a mind diet and a body diet. What I mean with that is I'm going to limit my content consumption to the things that really help me bring my goal forward, so that I can really focus on learning something, taking action on it, and then, of course, getting to the goal of building a great community. The reason why I added my clients in here is because I still have to do my day job. Like I still have the responsibilities that I have taken on from my previous consulting gigs, and I want to keep doing them until we together as a community can go forward and I can focus on this full time. Now, when I'm talking about I will build a training plan for my work, I'm going to start treating it like it's a training plan. So when I go to the gym, I know exactly what the exercises are that I need to do them and the time that I have to get them done. And so what's been happening in work is I've been going above and beyond in my function as a consultant for the new client that I've onboarded, because of course I want them to have the best experience, and I am personally invested in their success, in the sense that I really like the person, right? So oftentimes that means that I would be working on the project way more than I actually needed to. What I've decided to change is I'm going to view things as a spectrum. It's not did I do them or not, it's how well did I do them and what can I improve. And basically the whole document just continues going on like this. Now that I'm clear on the things that I want to change in order to do better this time, I'm now going to switch to the document that I created for the community that I myself have been using in one form or another over the last couple of months and years. I templatize this is because oftentimes when I'm in a situation like this, I have a lot of thoughts that I want to focus on at the same time. I think you can relate to this. Like you have a lot of ideas pulling at you of how you could solve this current situation that you're in. And so what I realized for myself, what helps me is having a guided thing that I can come back to every single time I am faced with an overwhelming amount of options, thoughts, or pressures, to help myself refocus. And this is what this document is for me. So my long-term vision is the first thing that we're going to be focusing on. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my long-term vision is to get to a point where I am living a life with the least amount of regret possible. For me, that's defined by saying something and doing it, saying something and doing it, saying something and doing it, and consistently living up to the challenges that I set myself. The reason why that is my long-term goal is because on the third project that I worked on, had such a massive opportunity. Like, to put it in simple words, you probably already know the story. I had the opportunity to get $250K grant to work on the project that I had developed myself, that was a big passion for me, that would help a lot of people, which I care about, is like helping people achieve their version of success, which in this context was helping artists make money off their art during COVID. And I got to the point where they wanted to give me the grant. I was one of the first to be selected, and the only thing that was missing was to hand in a financial statement. I had never done a financial statement before, and they asked me to project it into 4 years. And in my head, in my story, the reason why this is a failure is because I didn't do it. But not because I didn't want to, it was because I froze. Now, why I froze at the time, I wasn't clear, and I didn't even realize that I was freezing. I just realized that I would tell myself I was going to do it, and I didn't do it until the point that the deadline passed. But after that happened, I felt so bad, so shitty, that I was like, I didn't show up for myself. I'm a real failure. Fuck, I hate this. I hate how this feels. And then I set out on the journey of figuring out why. Why the hell did I not do that? I'm not saying that these are the definite reasons why I never took action on that thing, but what I found along the way is that had a lot to do with my belief set in that time about myself, about what a financial statement actually is and how you deal with it, then my own anxiety, then my own fear of failure, then my inability at the time to manage pressure. And now I call those things the black box. Those are all elements of the black box of inaction that can be simply summed up to limiting beliefs, emotional resistance, lack of clarity, and perspective, either being perspective you have on the task of what's required or the expectation that you have towards yourself about the thing that you're about to do. And so I decided that building something like Action Equals Today, where I'm constantly reminded of these lessons, where I'm constantly having to share these lessons, would get me to not only think about these things, but really consistently live it and daily be reminded about it. And I can daily self-check and be like, okay, am I getting closer to that goal? So that's my personal goal. My social long-term vision is that we live in a world where more people learn how to manage their black box of inaction. And through that, we live in a world where more people take action on their crazy good ideas. And that as a whole makes society better. I'm going way out there. So bringing that back in for this document, my long-term vision now is just focused on 1 to 2 years. And my long-term vision per area of my life, right? And so to keep this, we could go into all areas of my life, but to keep this focused on my quote unquote most important project, which is Action Equals Today, the long-term vision for Action Equals Today, in essence, the long-term vision is that Action Equals Today is a very active community where people share their struggles, where they're working towards their goals, where they're learning ways to enjoy the process, and at the same time helping each other break out of the black box of inaction, leading by example instead of just the hoorah that I like to call it. End of year goal, which is 150 active members, daily active members in the Action Equals Today community, taking actions towards their goal. Now, why am I writing my end of year goal to be 150 daily active members taking action towards their goal instead of, like 1,000? It's because the important measurement here, the thing that will help me see how close am I getting to the goal, am I making progress in the right direction, are these two things. 150 daily active members. That's the metric concerning the number of increased rate. If they're not daily active members, then I can't count them because they need to be daily. Then the other part is they can't just be daily active members, talking about cookies and tea. They have to be daily active members pushing towards their goal, right? And whatever their goal is. If your goal is to eat cookies, that's great, or become the best cookie eater, that's great. We can definitely do that. The metric for me that I'm measuring to to understand if I'm making progress or not if I'm successful or not, just if the activities that I am setting for myself are helping me go further away or closer to the goal, is that. Because I don't judge people's goals but being, hey, this is a good goal, this is a bad goal. I want them to just be focusing on the things that will help them lead a life that they'll regret the least amount possible, right? Because that's the long term vision, right? Now, the important part is, why does this goal matter to me? Here, I want you to think about the small reasons why. So, one of the small reasons why I want it to be a community instead of a newsletter is because I just want to see people. I want to interact with people. I want to be part of the journey. That's one of the small reasons. One of the big reasons is because I don't want my kids or anybody else in this world, and this sounds so stupid, this sounds so altruistic, and I realize that the reason why I'm saying that is because it's a limiting belief, but it's really this simple. I don't want anyone to feel the way that I felt about missing my opportunity through something that was definitely fixable if I knew at the time what I know now. I don't want anybody to go through that, because opportunities like that maybe only knock once or twice in life. Like, I'm not saying the grant part, I'm talking about the grant to project fit, right? That was like and I'm saying this because the circumstances also count, right? I'm knocking on wood that we never have the C word happen globally again, right? But the circumstance, the project, and the why and the passion were such a perfect fit. And I missed the opportunity because I, the entrepreneur, didn't know how to manage these things. And I don't want anyone that has such a passionate goal or that has something that they desperately want, like I did back then, to lose it because of the black box of inaction. And so that's one of the big reasons. Another big reason is I want to get really good at this. So if I ever create another situation where I have opportunities like this, which I am creating by just doing the community, I'm facing my black box every day, that I don't freeze, that I step up to the opportunity. Another big reason is because I want to make sure that if I have kids, I can give them this in the most condensed and simplified way, so that it's not me telling them this is good. I want them to be able to experience it. That is also why, instead of just making content about this is what you should do and this is what worked for me, so I made the community based off of challenges, because I understood that the reason why I understand it now is because I understand how the questions I asked myself and the challenges that I went through led to the point where I realized, oh, it's the black box, stupid. Like, really, some things need to be experienced in order to be taught. That's the thing that I was always missing, and regardless of how many self-help books I was reading, I always forgot that the experiential context is so important. And so through the challenges, I want to speed up the process of experiential context. And here's the other kicker. Not every tool works the same for each individual. That's why I'm not focused on tools. That's why the challenges are set up so that you face your black box of inaction and you figure out what helps you manage it. Like, the goal is only to manage it. and the challenges help you push yourself into situations where you need to learn how to manage it without all the risk of losing the quote unquote once in a lifetime opportunity, right? So that's another big reason. And I want you to write them all down, or I write them all down. Sorry, I just sometimes I get in this. I really want you to do it because I really want you to do it. But I write them all down to remind myself, not right now when I'm doing this and I'm super hyped. I'm taking this document and I'm gonna post it like on my non-virtual wall right over there. And I'm gonna look at this every time I'm thinking about just doing something easier. Because it's easy to lose this out of sight. And I'm talking about the small and the big whys, right? Another reason why I want to make it a paid community, or big reason, however you want to look at this, is because I know, based off of the first project that I did, that doing something on passion alone will not build it in a way that it is sustainable after I'm gone. Because everybody's going to want something else. Like, regardless of who I hire, regardless of who I bring on board to this, everybody is going to want something else. Some people are going to care about money. Some people are going to care about status. Some people are going to care about just being able to say, I'm part of this cool project, which is also status, by the way, Andre. But I just realized trying to build a project with no funding whatsoever, it's just stacking the cards against you. And money is the tool that helps me hire, helps me focus. It helps me make the experience better for everyone. So that's why I'm also charging money for the community experience. Great. So those are the big and small reasons why I'm choosing to do it as a community format, and why I'm focused on 150 daily active members taking actions towards their goal. Okay, so this is the important question I used to never think about. So I would always add my bucket of things to do and goals I had, like as if it was a shopping list. And I never thought about exchanging the things because I thought I could do it all. Like, I thought I could fit it in. And the only thing I did was burnout. Now, I love this question because it also helps me understand, how much do I want this, what I'm talking about? How much do I want this? The more this hurts, and this is just my way of doing it, the more this hurts to give this up, the more I understand that this isn't just like I'm not just dating the goal. Like, I want this, right? I'm willing to do what's required. Now, writing it down here, what you're leaving behind, and actually doing it, it's a whole nother video. I've made some experiences with that too, and some things have helped me and some things haven't. But thinking about what you're going to stop doing has been so helpful for me on this journey. And that's why I'm going through this again, because the fact that I've said yes to so many things again means that I've taken away focus from this. And so that's why I need to write it down clearly and understand, hey, all of the things that I'm leaving behind are a no. And it's non-negotiable. And they're a no because they don't help me reach my goal. So that's what I think about here. What are activities that I do on a daily basis that don't help me reach this goal? Okay, so as you can see, because I wrote in here directly, the line's kind of pushed down, but I'm going to change that later. Okay, I try to do this check-in on a regular basis, because one thing is that you might stop doing the activities that you talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but you might have started other activities that you do as a avoidance activity of actually doing the thing that's uncomfortable, that's activating your black box of inaction. So my activities from the last couple of months were that I stopped watching Netflix on my own. I only watch Netflix now when I'm spending quality time with my wife. I stopped playing video games, so I put my PS5 away completely. And I only play video games when it's quality time with my wife. So we usually play on the Nintendo Switch every month or so. And I also now have realized that one of the activities I need to restop is watching YouTube. And what I mean with watching YouTube is not that I'm going to stop watching YouTube completely, because I do watch YouTube to learn things. I'm talking about watching YouTube videos to distract myself. The important part, naming specifically what type of videos those are. So in my case, it's tech videos about yet another Samsung or iPhone, because I get pretty technology obsessed. Phones. Then another thing that I've been watching is a lot of Night Rain playthroughs. It's basically, basically put, it's like as if you're secondhand video game playing. Right? That's what I'm calling it right now. Okay, so just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna leave it at that, because those are the things that I've been sinking a lot of time into, right? Now that I've talked about this, and we've already talked about in the video why the goal matters to me, we're gonna go to the next section, which is setting up your 14-day challenge goal. Now, this has to do with specifically something that we do in the community, which is we set up 14-day challenges. Right now we have, for example, the challenge Decode Your Procrastination or Decode Your Limiting Beliefs. That one is still in beta because I'm figuring out how to set up the challenges in a way that you arrive at the conclusion that it's a limiting belief and that you can eliminate it in the way that I had in the past and I still do. So it's contextualizing the method in an actual challenge that I'm still working on right now. We've had some people go through it, but not finish it. So I need to fix some things there. Okay, but the reason why we did a 14-day challenge goal, and in your case, if you're not doing challenges, you can just say, okay, this is my 14-day goal, is because we're trying to chunk the big end of your goal into smaller pieces that are manageable over multiple sprints, right? Because when you're challenging your black box, once you understand one of the things, like for example, if your comfort zone grows to be accustomed to these new activities that you're doing, like when you're going to the gym and you do the same movement and your muscle grows accustomed on how to do the exercise the most efficient way, the thing that you have to do is you have to change up the exercise, but train the same muscle. So the same philosophy applies here with our internal management. Oftentimes, within 14 days, we can grow accustomed to this new activity that we're doing. We'll still feel a bit of discomfort. We'll more and more and more will grow into this comfort zone. And the task that we used to think was hard is now easier. Not because it's become easier, but because we've just grown accustomed to its resistance. That's why we focus on 14-day challenges, because the challenge itself doesn't need to change for you to learn how to manage your black box. The distance between you and your comfort zone and how far you walk out does. Because the black box of inaction, what we call it in the community, only activates when you are outside of your comfort zone. If it activated inside of your comfort zone, you wouldn't stay where you currently are. You'd try to move away because it's uncomfortable. And what makes growth difficult is that it's uncomfortable. So it's activating out there, not in here in the comfort zone. That's why we set up 14-day goals, because it helps us adjust the difficulty. So let's say, for example, okay, your goal is to go for walks every 2 days. And the first 2-week sprint that you do it, you realize, oh, okay, well, I got started, but I'm having difficulties being consistent. Great. Then your next challenge is not to add anything new to it. It's to just do the walks more frequently. Then the next challenge is, okay, now that I've done the walks more frequently, Do you increase the amount of walks you do in a week, or do you increase the time of walks that you do in a week, right? Because it really depends on the thing that makes you uncomfortable, that takes you outside of your comfort zone. Like the idea of it is like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that, right? That's when you start knowing that your black box of inaction is activated. And I'm just talking about my case. It needs to hurt. So what do I mean with that? It needs to be something that activates my black box of inaction. Now, over the last 4 weeks, thinking about launching a workshop and doing a workshop consistently, like at least once a month, has been something that I've been wanting to do. I've created ads for it, but I haven't actually posted them. So I know that what's best for the community right now is setting up those ads, leading them to the workshop, and then, having people sign up for the workshop and going through a tiny challenge with them and then inviting them into the community. The part that makes me uncomfortable about it is then after the workshop saying, hey, here's a free workshop, by the way, join the community. I feel uncomfortable about it, not because I don't believe in the community that I'm building or the things that I'm doing, but just because my nonprofit heart is like, I actually want to do this for free. And I just want people to experience it, like what it feels like to focus on managing your black box instead of trying to beat it. So my goal for the next 14 days is going to be very simple. I'm going to post this video and I'm going to focus on, number one, I'm going to focus on saying no to everything does workshop. Okay, so day one, which is for me right now, for me, actually starts tomorrow because I have to communicate it today, but that means tomorrow I'm going to act differently, is I'm going to say no to everything that doesn't have to do with the focus of the next 14 days. And what I mean with that is I'm only going to focus on what my current commitments are, which are the 2 clients I'm working with and ActionEqualsToday. And everything that is additional that doesn't have to do with those 2 things, I'm going to say no to. And that's it. So I'm going to go through with all of the things that I've committed to last month and up until now, but everything new is going to go to a no pile first. And I think that's going to take, let's say, for example, 25 minutes, because I have to decide what is a no, even within the client projects that I'm doing right now, right? So then later I'm going to write down the actual time, because we'll focus on that later. But again, what is the goal here? The goal is I want to launch a workshop, be that, helping people get clarity like I'm doing in this video, or be that helping people take action on their first action. I'll figure that out as I go. I'll literally go eeny, meeny, miny, moe and pick one. But since that's the focus for the next 14 days, all of the tasks each day have to focus on moving that forward. Now, so day one, we've already understood that's the task, is get my calendar clear and block things off. Day 2 is going to be focused on reviewing the ads I wrote and creating sign up freebies plus email thread, because I can't invite them directly into the community because the community is paid and I want to build up trust. That's my thought process. I'll need to come up with a freebie that's relatable to the workshop that we're going to be working on, and that's going to be something that will help them prepare for the workshop, and then email thread that will just provide them value in their process of setting up towards the workshop, but at the same time reminding them that, hey, the workshop is going to happen. So I think on day 2 I'll focus on that, and I think total time I'm going to give myself is 3 hours because I have time constraints. One client needs me to work with him at least 6 hours a day, and another client at least needs me to work with him 2 to 15 hours a week, depending on what part of the project we're currently working on. So I want to commit to at least doing 3 hours every day focused on Action Equals Today. And so that means that if I do this on day 2, what I'm going to do on day 3 is set up in Meta and in email. Day 4, very simple, launch campaign. Right? So day 5, so here I need to think a little bit about it. You know, if it's going to be day 5 and we've launched a campaign and it's going to run 72 hours, what's day 5 going to be while that's running? I guess I can slides and challenge. Then it's going to be day 2. Test Google Meets, because that's where we're going to be hosting it, bandwidth. And day 3, which that's what it's going to be if you've been counting with me, I'm going to host the work, right? So now we're there. And then after I did that, I'm going to review and take notes on how to. Then once I took notes on how to improve Unity 3-day, right? And then wait 24 hours for people to join. Sorry. Then start 3-day challenge call. Then community manage, and then it's basically review, improve, repeat. As you can see, for the rest of the days, because my idea is to host the workshop, then invite them into a 3-day challenge where people actually take action on what we talked about, then review how everything went, and then improve and repeat the process. That's going to be my 14-day challenge for now. Now, I'm going to think about it a little bit more later, but just to give you guys an idea of how simplified I'm breaking it down. Now, if you could technically say that each one of these, like for example, launching the campaign, could be let's take a step back. When I'm talking about launching a campaign, I mean like actually designing the campaign, coming up with the idea. That in itself could be a 14-day goal. And the goal here with this list is to really break it down into manageable tasks. So some things that you don't estimate that will take you longer than 3 hours or less than 2 minutes. Because if it takes you less than 2 minutes, just do it now. Those are going to be my action per day activities, right? And then I need to think about how long it's going to actually take me, but based off of the data that I have in the application that I use, which is Rise. I'm trying to see if I can click it to show you guys. I use Rise as a tool so that I can always fact check what did I set out to do versus what did I actually do. Because I love it when my mind tells me, for example, and I'm being sarcastic here, oh, you didn't do anything today. And then I come in here and I realize, oh my God, I did a lot of things, but the reason why I didn't feel like it did, the reason why it feels like I didn't do anything is because I focused on things that weren't relevant to my goal instead of things that actually are, right? And so that's why I think tools like these that are separate from our own identity are super important. And today's work hours are excessively low because I spent most of the morning working on getting the visa situation fixed. So I was at different governmental offices. But to give you guys an idea of what it looks like on a trends basis, let it load, let them cook. My average over the last couple of weeks has been 8 hours total focus time. If you guys want to see a little bit more, I always think these statistics are super interesting. The focus score over over the last month had a massive dip, as you can see, because I was in that slump. But before that, it was like super high. And we can even go further back than that to just show you, like, there was a time at this year where I had an average of 151 hours in a month of a total focus time. And that was because I was just starting the community. I was very focused. I was very clear on what I wanted to do. And so I was working overtime, servicing my clients at the same time, building up the community. But as you can see, towards May, like, a lot of things happened and it just was a massive dip, massive dip. And now I'm slowly getting back up on the horse, building momentum. And the important thing here is these things happen. They're normal, they're human. It's about how fast do we get back up, right? How fast do we get back to what I like to call my ideal focus time, which is 95 hours a month, right? And it's just what I mean with focus time. Anybody can focus on something. I mean focus time, intentionally working on the things that I actually set out to do. And that's why I like tools like this. Okay, enough of the topic switch. So now we're back here. Here's the thing. The second thing I like to do, the second, third thing, and fourth thing, I don't know which number we're at now at the moment, is I like to understand how I will measure success. Now, I've already told you guys how I will measure success because it's very clear. I either have launched the workshop, held the workshop, or not, right? So that's very easy. But the other way, and this is the most important part, is how do I judge success that is not dependent on the outcome? Because let's say, for example, I do all of this stuff and nobody shows up, which is totally possible. I'm a nobody. Instead of saying, okay, you know what, success is only defined by if somebody shows up or not, if the campaign worked or not, the more realistic and business way to think about it is to think about, number one, which other metrics can I look at to know what part of the process is working versus the one that's not. When it comes to advertising, I've learned that there's a couple of them that you can look at, like, for example, click-through rate, or people actually clicking on the link, wanting to figure out what's going on. Another one is, are people signing up? Are they not signing up? Are they going to the landing page and then jumping off? Then you know, okay, well, the problem is not the ad, the problem is the landing page. So those are all different metrics that you could use as well. But the ones that I like to focus on here is the did I or did I not, right? Did I do the things that I set out to do? I think that that's the most fundamental version of success, especially when you're at this point right now where you feel a little bit low confident because you've just come out of a quote unquote crash. Then the most important thing that you can focus on is, did I do the things that I said I was going to do? If not, why? Do I have to reduce the amount of things that I'm doing? Or do I have to reduce the amount of expectations that I have? And that's where we get into obstacle planning. Because as you go through these challenges, you get to know yourself more and more. And I know that one of the obstacles that I'm going to be facing is anxiety, because I want to provide the quote unquote best experience and best ads, the most realistic ads possible. But I don't know what they are now. And so I don't want to accidentally misrepresent because I'm still pretty new at this. I like to think about, okay, what are the feelings, thoughts that I could have, or behavior that I could catch myself doing that is a sign for me to know, hey, my black box is active right now. Let me refocus. Let me get back into it. Let me reduce what I'm expecting of myself. So instead of saying, okay, I need to launch the whole campaign, can I add? Okay, no, I can't. Okay, can I write one line of text? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, great. So I'm going to do that. Can I open the file? Yeah. Okay, great. And then slowly, step by step, getting myself back up there, because I know that what I'm avoiding, what I'm fighting against isn't the task itself. That's neither hard or easy. Only our experience makes it so. And with experience, I mean thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so I also like to write down what is the avoidant behavior, because I just mentioned a lot of times we don't realize number 1 and 2. We only realize that we're not doing the thing that we're supposed to do. But if we already know what those tend to be, then we can remove those options from the get-go, right? And then also, I like to think about what things in my current week could distract me from doing the things that I want to do. So, is it people, like meetings? Is it YouTube? That's tech. In my case, is it animals? Because sometimes you might be hearing them in the background. My cat is going crazy. It's scratching the door because my wife just left the office to go do something else. Or is it busy work? Is it work that is important but not required right now? So those are the things that I like to think about. I like to come up with solutions. So I like to think about, okay, what were things in the past that have helped me deal with this? I write that down. Then I write the next thing down. Then I write the next thing down. Try to come up with 3 for each. If I come up with 2, that's great, but the goal is 3. And so, what other resources do I have available to help myself stay on task? In the community, we have the action hours where you'll just come live with me and we'll decide what we'll work on and we'll focus on it. And if you get stuck, you can quickly say, hey, Andre, I'm noticing my black box is active. Any thoughts, any solutions? Let's try it, right? Then peer support, what I like to do is when multiple people are in the challenge, it's always easier to do a challenge, right? So come join me. Don't let me do this alone. And then basically think about in your private life, what other resources do you have to help you stay focused on task? In your life, those can be other things. For example, maybe your resource is setting yourself a timer. Maybe your resource is telling your sister, your brother, your mother, or your wife to sit down with you and work on things together. Although those tend to be very unreliable because I don't know about you, but I tend to break into conversation because I just want to show somebody something really cool that I'm working on. Or they tend to have different schedules than you do, which makes everything a little bit more difficult. But basically, think of the things that have helped you in the past to stay focused and do those things in the event that you have an obstacle show up. Then I just realized I have a typo here. I'm going to fix that in post. Then I do the end of challenge report, which is after the 14 days. I write down what are the tasks I took action on, what are the ones that I didn't take action on, and then I try to map my black box. I try to think about what aspect of the black box, meaning like limiting beliefs, emotional resistance, perspectives, what led to me not taking action on this. And then I like to give myself a score of how well did I manage those situations and how well did I manage my black box of inaction overall. And then I try to go into a little bit of reflection, but I don't always do this. What I really just try to focus on is when I'm in a slump, I try to break things down like this. I try to remind myself of what the goal is, where I'm going, why I'm doing it, so that even when I don't have motivation, I can still focus on doing what matters. So yeah, I've talked a lot. We've been through a lot. If you've enjoyed this video, great. If it's helped you take action, please let me know. It's like the most motivating thing for me to hear people have overcome parts of their black box. If it's not helpful at all, also let me know, because again, knowing something for yourself versus teaching it, 2 different sides of a book, I'm just realizing. And for me, this feels like the cover of the book, and for you, this might just be the back of the book, and it's not really clear of what's going on. With that, I think I've done my part of walking you through what I'm doing right now. And in the next episode of whatever this is, I am actually going to be talking about something. So if you're interested about that, it's definitely going to do something with learning how to take action, the things that I'm learning how to take action, how I'm managing my black box, and how it's going with building the community. So I'll see you then.